Okay, is everybody here?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Okay, you're up.
Oh, I'm up all right.
We're good.
Okay. Hey guys, Billy Gross, BG Gallery director, deal with blue chip acquisitions, helped put this on for Rachel and Ron. If you guys already don't know, Ron Schmidtling's the artist, Rachel Bailit's the Muse. And the show's gone great. I know, everyone's excited. If you weren't here last night, unfortunately wasn't able to make it, but it looked great when I showed up today. So, but yeah, we'll get into a little artist talk. Is that what we're gonna do first?
Yeah, we'll introduce Kelly first.
Okay.
Tanner?
Oh, Tanner.
Tanner.
You're getting this part. I just thought that was
Tanner.
What's your last name?
Kelly, Tanner.
Kelly. Oh, yeah. And this is Tanner Kelly. I'd like to introduce.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Great to be with you all. My name is Tanner Kelly, and I have the privilege of working with our California State Treasurer, Fiona Ma. And Fiona was at the orchestra with Rachel, who has been a longtime friend of the Treasurer's. They were at the orchestra on Friday. She told her about this show, and I live down the road. So she said, Tanner, I can't make it, but it's really important to me that we show up and we recognize the work that the folks in the community are doing. And so I'm here today on behalf of her to commemorate this opening of the show and the gallery. And if you're not familiar, our state treasurer, she's the banker, so if you need money or want money, you go see her. And she processes over $3.2 trillion each year. You might be asking, why does the California State Treasurer care about local arts and supporting artists? But her mother was an art teacher for over 20 years. She's a member of SAG-AFTRA. She has performed in a couple of movies as well. She has a couple credits. But we know that our communities thrive when we have a robust art community and we have contributions of people like Rachel. If you don't know, Rachel is actually working with elected officials across the state to help them better communicate and engage the art community. And so that's just something she does on the side in addition to being an actor and model. And so we're really grateful for her and her work. But why should the art community care about government and our elected officials? Well, number one, we need to have a vital and stimulated creative economy, right? We need to be able to support the work and the contributions of the people and the artists in California. So Fiona was pivotal in expanding the California Film Tax Credit when she was in the state assembly. She just administered a grant to nonprofits and art galleries that were shut down during COVID to help them keep their doors open and get back on their feet. But we also need to think about what the California dream for artists really is and make sure that it's affordable for folks who have this dream of coming to California and being a part of a prosperous art community like Santa Monica to make sure that they can come and afford to live here and pursue their dreams. And so that's why it's really important that all of you as supporters of the art engage your local elected officials, your statewide elected officials, invite them to your events and let them know the issues that matter to you and what's happening in your community. So we're just really pleased to be here today, and thank you, Rachel, for all that you do. So I'll present you with a couple certificates.
Yeah.
I can do it.
Ron, congratulations. This is for your outstanding contribution. You actually have
I
it too,
actually
And Rachel, thank you for all you do. Congratulations on the show and your long history of working in the arts and supporting civic causes. So we appreciate you.
Okay, yeah.
This week also have one for you, Billy. Thank you so much for opening your doors and being a part of this community. We really appreciate you and all that you do to support local artists.
Thank you.
Nice. Thank you so much for coming. What a joy. Okay, let's talk soon
Yes.
about creating more art.
Let's do it.
Thank you. This is beautiful. I'm going to cherish this.
Thank you so much again. It was great. You can always use one.
That's right.
So yeah, thanks everyone for being here today. before we get started, I kind of want to know, I mean, I know a little bit, but obviously how does an artist and their muse meet? So, who wants to go first? Talk about how you meet? The artist, yeah.
So I was working at the Getty Museum, and the Getty Museum has a kind of a private drawing group that all the sort of employees of the Getty Museum, they get together and start and draw after hours. And Rachel was hired as one of the models, and she came in, and generally somebody welcomes you at the door, and you go and you start. I happened to be the one to open the door for Rachel, and so I opened the door, and this vivacious, amazing being comes in, and I'm like, wow. And so we had a really great art session that time, and everybody enjoyed it. But I was like, I need to work with her more. So can I give you my card?
So I was completely intimidated my first day going to the Getty Museum to model. And when you're a model, it really helps to have a friendly face in the room, because often the artists are really absorbed with their artwork or shy. And Ron was so friendly and available. He was wearing his Indiana Jones hat, and I thought, this is a really interesting guy. And I started talking to him and found out he was a paleontologist, and that he'll tell you, but he identifies incredibly ancient pieces of work at the Getty in the labs, I guess.
Yeah.
And so I was fascinated. I geeked out, and I just liked him because he really stood out that day. And we immediately set up a group session. We got some artists together, and I modeled for them. That was the beginning.
Yeah.
And as never modeled myself, for artists, or I don't know how many of you have. What does that feel like? I guess what goes through your mind, body the first time you sit down and pose for a group of artists or an artist?
Well, it was a long journey. So I began with costume modeling, and I thought that would be safe. I'm an actress. But pretty soon I realized that I felt like, oh wow, I'm not the real deal. I have to try fine art modeling. And I had dealt with issues around my body in Hollywood and how I was perceived. And even when I was doing a one-woman show, I still felt like I wasn't really living in my body. And my director would tell me that I was shy even when I was joking and talking about my body. And so I thought there might be some growth in doing life modeling. So I went to the furthest school I could find at Cal State Fullerton. I figured I would know no one out there. And I was talking to my mom in the bathroom, and she said, you don't have to do this. And I said, I do. I have to prove this to myself that I can do this. There's something about complete acceptance of, imperfection, because I'm certainly not perfect. And so when I got in the room, I thought there's usually a stage and the artists are out here, but this particular room was in the round. So there was nowhere to hide from any angle. And if you read the story on the wall, the teacher put on the song, White Stripes, I Am the Conqueror. And that's all I needed. I got up and I assumed the character, and it gave me so much strength and power to stand there like that and move there like that and learn how to make shapes with my body and express for my body. And it was the first time in my life, many years into my adulthood, that I could do that and not feel shame or not worry what people were thinking. And most of the models, like a lot of the models are dancers. They're very thin and petite, not all, but a lot of them are. So I was a different kind of model, and so with each modeling job, I had to get the courage to get up there again. And unfortunately, I had to stop doing that because people like to share their art, which they should be able to do publicly. But being a teacher, I just didn't feel that was appropriate. So I stopped and I went back to costume, and
everybody cried.
And then, so Ron, how did you guys, I guess, she came in that day, said she got back in a costume, but how did you connect in kind of this long journey to show off the work if not everyone's seen the body of work that is in the gallery?
Yes, so we continued working for about 10 years, and so the first piece is the first piece is in 2011, and that was, we were doing figure drawings, and we did that for a while, for a year or two, and then we started working with photography and working with costumes. And since she wanted to work with costumes, I'm like, how can I participate? I'm going to make a cool costume for her. And so I started doing that, and incorporating crystals, and since I'm working in geology.
This is Ron's.
So that's actually made out of crystals of mica. It's muscovite. It's very thin, but it's still a crystal. And there's a few more pieces in there that I was designing for her. And so we started doing that, and then she began to say, okay, well, if you design that, can you make a costume of Barbarella? I could try. And so we just started, creating and collaborating, and that really continued until, basically until COVID. But then it was like, this has been 10 years. We should do something. And so we began to brainstorm and try and figure out how we could do a show somewhere. Where? We haven't.
I'm glad we can make it happen for them. 10 years is a long time. A lot of relationships, there's marriages that don't last 10 years. So to see an artist and their muse still working together is great. I know with Rachel, I talked about, even when we were putting the press release together and going out, not being just about her body, but kind of her comfort level and taking her to a new spirit where she can see herself and not be worried what other people are thinking or judging, things like that. Can you touch on that a bit?
Absolutely. So, working as an actress for a couple of decades in Hollywood, it was all typecasting for me, which is very upsetting. So, even though I'm happy to work, but it was pretty much one prostitute after another. If I was voluptuous, it was a prostitute. If I was super thin, then it was a druggie. And it was always like people just didn't know what to do with me unless I absolutely, buttoned myself up and hid everything, which I did sometimes. And that's just no way to be. And I don't understand why that happened to me. And it really threw my career off course. And then I got on stage and did a one-woman show to try to deal with it. Sugar happens. And I still couldn't work it out, and it's very upsetting. I'm just a nice Jewish girl from Needham, Massachusetts, and I came to Hollywood, and like my parents have to see me on TV in these roles where they would go down on my sizing on purpose. You go to the fitting, and then and it was humiliating. And I love acting, and I'm an actress, and I can play anything. And there's a role I'm going to do as a very lovable hooker with James DiStefano over there, Rusty and Rico. But anyhow, Rusty deals with it, right, in her own way. And so I found no way to deal with it except through the modeling and full acceptance of myself. And doing this exhibit and being interviewed, we were interviewed on a podcast, a wonderful podcast if you want to listen to it on YouTube, called Miss Art. And so the more I talk about it, the more I work it out. And I'm not sure I still have worked it out, but I feel comfortable walking in that gallery and seeing myself all over the wall with no judgment.
Yeah, well, so there's a difference with when you're a model for an art group, we see things very differently. We see you get up on stage and you go from a human being to kind of an icon, a goddess. Something amazing, and then you inspire the artists. And so instead of being typecast, you're elevated. And so that's kind of the difference with art modeling and art drawing. We're looking for either the beauty or the juxtaposition of beauty. But it's a different way, and it's a kind of a deeper respect in a sense of the being.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And you can see how that helped me working with Ron, who appreciated the lines and the curves, and the more the better. So I thank Ron for that acceptance and that consistency of support.
Yeah, and then one thing I've always wondered about, like I love Jenny Saville, and she does, almost grotesque Francis Bacon type nudes. You have different artists over the years, generations, centuries, where nude doesn't always have to be full beauty. It almost teaches you more about art and the artist and talent through the shading and through the line work and everything else. I guess, Ron, can you touch on, how good is it to sit in a room and do nudes of different figures to really, own your craft as a painter, drawer, artist, whatever you want to call yourself?
Yeah. So that is also a thing when you're working on your skill level. For me, a lot of my work is about line. It's about there's a kind of an Oriental or Asian style line that I'm always interested in, and so you can kind of draw anything with when you're looking at it and you're working on your technique, your craft. And so often the models can really be any shape, big, small, male, female. And as an artist, you're looking for that something that you can, that you can treat special, that you can really make a statement on, or develop how you approach an object. It's just more fun to draw people. So yeah.
Right, and what's next to come for you guys? What are you guys trying to expand? You've been working together for 10 years. I guess also, does a relationship kind of blossom where at first you feel weird and then you feel like you can kind of do anything in the studio or outside or have fun? You kind of get to know each other at a more personal level?
Yes.
We're like all giggly, because what's next? We talked about that driving here, like, wow, this is fun. I wonder if they let this, let's do another one. A lot of our art isn't even in this exhibit. There's so much of it. And I can't imagine not continuing creating with Ron. If we go to Starbucks, like this morning, we created art and photos. Like getting a cup of coffee is artful. Life is artful. And in my mind, my life is a work of art. And everything I see is an opportunity to create something. So I think it's a mindset for how to live life, to live adventurously and live in the moment and keep discovering and staying fresh. And I can't imagine, as long as we're friends, that we won't be making art at the same time. What do you think?
Yes. Yeah, it is true when you start working with someone and you really get to know them in so many wonderful ways. But generally, it's always like whatever we need to do to make this vision happen. That's what we're going to do. And so and the visions have just gotten more and more elaborate or interesting, and so it's been very interesting like that. But of course, now that we have all of the work together, I'd really like to do something wonderful, like make a book out of it. I don't know. Or what would you suggest?
Yeah, the book sounds good. You can do traveling openings. I know she sent me some work because you think Europeans sometimes are more open to more nude style work. I think that's kind of changed depending on how good the work is. But yeah, I mean, we can sit down and brainstorm. But now I'll open it up. If there's any questions from the audience, love to hear from you guys. Yeah.
I have a question for both of you, Rachel and Ron. What does the word muse mean to both of you?
You go first. Can you repeat the question?
So the word, what does the word muse mean that's an interesting concept because to me it's, you know, from the outset, it's like something that inspires you. It's the thing that inspires you, and so it could be, you know, it could be a lot of different things, but in this case, it is an actual muse. You know, there's also, you know, but we talk about inspiration or creativity or aesthetics, but it's really about that thing that inspires you, and that's what I think. What do you think, Muse?
The Muse thinks that the Muse brings something to the table and comes with her own inspiration, her own ideas, and lights the way for the artists and encourages the artists to take chances, to try new things, to do crazy ideas, spontaneous ideas. And so, stay with it. You have some great, you come at it.
You'll come back twice as bad.
As strong, right?
Twice as strong.
Like just keep staying in whatever you're doing, whatever you're creating, because it gets richer, like this rich soup with lots of ingredients in it. The longer you stay in it, right, Joan? The longer you stay in it. Joan is just an incredible woman, artist, muse herself.
But I was wondering if that's what your one-woman show was about, show your different sides.
It was, but I wasn't quite there yet.
You weren't there yet.
Yeah, I was going through it and I got it like maybe 70%, but not. If I was to do that show now, I think it would be a better show.
You should do it.
I should.
Those are great shows.
Next project.
Thank you. I should.
So I think we have time for one more question.
You don't call it portraiture, you call it something different.
No,
because you approach portraiture the same way?
I do. Whether I'm drawing when we're talking about portraiture, because I'm really drawing the figure. However, you are seeing the character as well. You're seeing basically the face. Some figure artists don't even, they kind of fudge on the facial features, or they're like bacon or something where it's like blobs of flesh, So, but in my case, I'm interested in the personality of the model as well. And so, but in terms of the line, it's more like, are we, do we see an expressive, beautiful thing? And sometimes it looks like the model, and so, but that's what I'm going for, is are we capturing the expression or the emotion or the feeling of the moment? And so, yeah, but it is kind of like portrait, it's almost like portraiture, but it's a little bit different.
And then, obviously everyone, go check out the exhibit, enjoy some refreshments. One thing I was going to ask was just on my mind, that you guys were asking about what we do in the next 10 years. I mean, I don't think anyone's ever done this, but like switch it up, where the artist becomes the muse and the thought that would be fun. Thank you.
Actually, Rachel found Ron to be.
She does that.
I do sometimes photograph him because I see interesting shots. I start looking through his lens, and yes.
So that's a good duo show.
That would be. Thank you. That's a wonderful idea.
Well, thank you so much. I know it means the world to them and me and Ohm for everyone coming here and showing your support for their 10 years of their practice together.
How long will the show be up?
Tuesday, yeah.
Yeah. So get your pieces now.
If you have any friends, we'll be here from about 12:30 p.m. on Monday. I'll be sitting in the gallery wanting to talk to someone. And also on Tuesday, and we have to take it down Tuesday, they have another show coming in. BG Gallery has fantastic shows. You get on their email list, and they always have opening and closing parties, so if you need something fun to do on the weekend, it doesn't cost you anything. You can come and, well, maybe buy some art. That will cost you something. Ron and his band are going to play music here, and I'm going over to the gallery and happy to talk to anyone there and we'll have refreshments.
I
Yeah.
want to buy something.
Yes.
Please, go and say something. Yes. Great. Thank you very much.